Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Unknown Territory. I'm the man they call Dave, and tonight we got a couple of interesting topics, and then it's going to be freeform. Today I have here with me a guy who I really hope to be a permanent second host for Unknown Territory. I have JT. Why don't you say hi to listeners?
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
So, how do you feel about being on radio right now? How was not only that, but how was your week?
Well, as far as the whole radio thing, I mean, you and I have talked about doing something along these lines for a very long time. And now it's coming to fruition.
Definitely.
This is kind of exciting for me. My week was my week. It's over. It's Friday. And we can sit back and just enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Everybody loves a Friday.
Especially after the week I had, but we're not even going to bother getting into it because it's over.
We all have certain weeks. I hope you all had a great St. Patrick's Day. Didn't get arrested. Didn't get too smashed. Didn't, wake up in a dumpster with the words "screw me" on your forehead. That's how it happens, at least in the Northeast for us. So I got a first topic to bring up tonight.
Well, may I interrupt just going back to the St. Patrick's Day thing?
Okay.
I made a corned beef, as I always do.
Oh,
now, you remember last year what I did with it? I put it in the smoker, right? So this time around, I was more or less lazy. Decided to cook it.
You did the oven thing.
I did the oven thing.
Why?
And unfortunately, it was nowhere near what it was last year. And I actually walked away as an Irishman, completely disappointed, and decided that I will never, ever do a corned beef outside of the smoker ever again.
You heard that, folks. He chose an oven over a smoker. Oh, I can't wait to see what the comments say about that one.
Knowing that anything that typically is put in
What'd
the
you
smoker...
do? Did you put the cabbage in the oven, too?
I actually am so not Irish this year that I didn't even bother with the cabbage. I was so lazy. I just went with red potatoes, though.
You're one of the most Irish people I know.
I know.
Besides myself.
Okay, so it was like an off-the-cuff St. Patrick's Day celebration. Just not the same. Just not the same.
No. And I was there, ladies and gentlemen, last year at JT's place for his corned beef. And it was phenomenal coming out of that. And what was it, a brisket?
Absolutely.
A little bit fattier, but a lot more flavor.
I'm actually ashamed of myself. It's just unbelievable. And I usually pride myself on things that I make because, I'm not tooting my own horn, but they are typically delicious. This was I have corned beef. Yeah, never again.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. All right, we're going to take one little quick break because that was a nice little introduction we had there. You know how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. You know how it goes on Unknown Territory. You get a little bit of music, and then we get into some interesting stuff. So we will get back to you in a minute. We are back on unknown territory. Boom, you gotta love those drums, right? Now, I got a couple of interesting things I want to bring up to you right now. Just two little articles that I know you know nothing about, but I think this is interesting. It is two reasons, historical reasons, where people would actually chop off their fingers for an actual reason.
I can't even imagine why anybody would do that.
Well, this is coming from Listverse. It's part of a 10. Our Listverse listeners, I know you probably know about it. They list 10. I picked 2. One of them is in mourning. Now, the Dugam people of New Guinea sacrifice the fingers of young girls when family members die. The ghosts of dead warriors are thought to terrorize the town if they aren't given a sufficient number of little girl fingers.
That seems absurd.
Doesn't it?
Absolutely absurd.
Ghost kings are especially bad news. So in the past, every girl in the tribe contributed a finger when a king died. Some older Dani women have only their thumbs remaining. It might sound painful, but the Dani came up with a creative anesthetic solution. Now, this actually gets funny right here for a second, even though it's kind of morbid. They knew that hitting the funny bone would stun the ulnar nerve, which controls sensations in your ring and pinky fingers, resulting in total numbness. Prior to amputation, the Dani took a rock and smacked the girl's ulnar nerve as hard as they could. While the girl is distracted and numb, they would chop off a finger with a stone axe.
Now, I have to assume that this girl knew what was about to happen.
Yes, they did.
Based on that, I don't think there's anything you could possibly do to me to stun me enough to make me feel comfortable. I mean, really? Let's think about it. That seems quite barbaric. I understand that's their culture and that's what they believed in.
Welcome to New Guinea.
I'm glad I don't live there.
These people eat bugs. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I'm not saying anything bad about New Guinea or Papua New Guinea or any of that. I'd love to be down there. But keep in mind, this is older cultures.
Okay.
So it's not something that happens, as far as I know, modern times.
Right, but people still believed in this stuff.
Well, hey, you got to admit, their funeral's a little bit more exciting than ours.
Right.
Now, here's one that I think, JT, you're going to find a little closer to home.
Oh, God.
It's curing impotence.
You bring up me? Why?
Gee, I don't know. Wah, 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 wah.
I don't think we've ever discussed me having an erectile dysfunction.
That's because we don't discuss that on air.
Well, apparently we are.
I'm kidding you. Okay, in West Africa, if a man dies without bearing children, some tribes cut off one of his pinkies and shove it into his rectum.
At least it's not large.
That's the start of the article. Okay, so you know where we're going, guys.
Interesting.
The spirit is supposedly so embarrassed by this disembodied finger, suppository, that it reincarnates as a fertile woman.
I'd be more embarrassed by
when
walking...
it returns from the female world.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I'd be more embarrassed by walking around with a pinky shoved up my rear end.
Okay, well, this ensures that the tribe will have sufficient childbearing women to sustain future generations. Presumably, it also provides an incentive for men to do their best to procreate while they're still alive. Knowing that they're your relatives will soon be messing around with your butt seems like it might put a damper on even the most peaceful deathbed exits.
I would have a big problem with this.
It's less traumatic than that of the Dugamdani, as being dead is a rather effective anesthetic, but it must be pretty uncomfortable for the person who has to deposit the finger inside the corpse.
Well, wait a minute, though. I mean, they're going to take a pinky and shove it up my rear end.
No. Basically, what they're going to do, it would be shoving a rectum into a corpse.
Oh.
In a sense.
But what about this poor guy? I mean, what if the whole time the woman that he's having relations with, what if she's the one that's not able to have children?
I don't know. I'm not going to read off.
So obviously this is not very scientific. It's just a very interesting topic.
It's just culture. I'll put a link in the description below for that Listverse article. There are 8 more different weird cultural things in which they would chop off their digits, and it not only considers fingers, it also can consider toes in certain religions and cultures.
Well, the big toe is definitely a lot worse than a pinky.
Without a big toe, you won't be able to walk straight.
Probably not.
And I've also heard that if you get rid of the pinky toe, that can also affect your gait and how you walk as well. It has to do with the big toe and pinky toe.
I don't know about this.
Now here's something a little less morbid, a little less destroying of live human cells, but creating them. Now this comes from MysteriousUniverse.org by Paul Seaburn. A 3D printer filled with human cells actually printed ear cartilage.
You kidding me?
Crap you not. While some scientists are trying to grow human organs, appendages, and cartilage from stem cells, others have figured out a way to fill 3D printers with bio-ink made from human cells and print ears, noses, and knees. Paul Galtenholm, PhD from the Wallenberg Wood Science Center in Sweden, made this announcement this exact week at the 251st National Meeting and Exposition of the American Chemical Society, also known as ACS. It's exciting news for pretty much everybody because cartilage tissue does not heal when it's damaged. Kind of like when you get a broken nose and you kind of crack it back into place.
Right. I've heard, especially with my brother being the doctor, I hear all these things when he's, working in the emergency room and stuff like that. But this is something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to ask you, the technology that we have nowadays, it seems as though there's something new every single day. So I have to ask you, though, at what point does that start creeping you out as a human race?
It's already creeping me out.
I think it's wonderful that they're able to reproduce parts. God forbid somebody loses an ear or something like that, and they can help you out, make you look normal, and live a normal life. But there's going to be a certain point where you're like, wait a minute. And where is that line? Where's that line where you don't cross it?
Well, there was a certain point, if you remember, where pig valves for human hearts was a big controversy. Now, this came like right around the time of stem cell research in the beginning, where inserting something from a pig into your heart was scary, spooky.
Well, absolutely, because
now it's commonplace.
It was uncharted territory at that point, but we're going beyond.
I agree with you, though.
We're going well beyond at this point of just replacing a heart valve. Now we're talking about body parts, and sooner or later it's going to be, I don't know, I could be completely wrong. At some point we're going to look at this and say, wait a minute. And then we might think back, 20 years ago or 20 years from now and look back at what we're saying tonight and say, huh.
Well, 20 years from now, if you're dead before me, I could probably at that point just clone another JT.
That would be great. Live long and prosper. No.
You can't see that, but we did that. You know what we did. You know what we did, guys. You know what we did.
Can't help it.
But to continue, honestly, okay, Siri, you can leave me alone. By the way, I'm going on my phone right now because it's easier for me. The cartilage doesn't heal itself when it's damaged and has to be replaced. Same as knees. My grandfather had, knee replacements. My father had that. Goes on to say, especially knees, tissues, other parts of the body. Now, the challenge for them was to develop a bio-ink that held together when 3D printed into a piece of human cell tissue. The structural capability of the bionic ink comes from polymetric carbohydrate molecules. Polymetric carbohydrate molecules from brown algae.
Don't feel bad if you have no idea what he's talking about, because I don't either.
Polysaccharides are one of the basic components of cellulose, which gives plants and trees their rigidity. Gattenholm says, under in vitro conditions, we have to change the nutrient-filled liquid that the material sits in every other day and add growth factors. It's a very artificial environment. That means it's not ready for humans yet.
But they're close.
They are so close. They've managed to use mice cells to grow 3D print tissue that was implanted, survived, and grew. To generate more human cells to use in the bioink, they mixed in a mesenchymal stem cells from bone marrow that stimulate cell growth. So, let's hope this technology, can be used for the benefit of those people who need cartilage transplants.
Or in my case, I'm Irish. You know where I'm going with that one. Maybe they can 3D print me an appendage.
Something for a little bit more useful than, fake boobs or Kim Kardashian's butt.
She doesn't need any help there.
Who knows? Maybe she has 2 babies tucked in there. You have no idea.
It kind of appears as though she does. Let's not even start on those people. I mean, you got people like that are for no reason whatsoever on TV and making a boatload of money, and they're useless. Let's be honest. Most of our listeners will look at somebody like them. They're useless. Let's be honest. Come on. You know what?
Well, okay, screw that. Back onto the topic, though. On a scientific level, say, I was with JT to a certain extent. If you had ever chopped off, now this almost happened, ladies and gents, if you almost chopped off your hand with a chainsaw, and that was a major accident, you lost your hand, you got to the hospital, you were able to be stitched up. If you had the chance to have bio-ink, 3D printed, engineered cells to recreate your hand, it wouldn't be the one that I shake. It'd be recreated. Would you consider that the same? Would you go for it?
If you take something like a hand that you almost cannot live without, you can. Don't get me wrong, because there's many people that have that problem. If given the choice to have one again, absolutely. How could I say no to something like that? You really can't.
I don't know if I would want that, though. Because it's kind of creepy. It's like, what was that movie? Jack Black's in it. He's sitting in the passenger seat of a car, and he's stoned out of his mind. I forgot what movie it is. And he's just like, have you ever really looked at your hand? And then you knew it really wasn't yours, but it's still fully functional.
Kind of sounds like The Stranger. I don't know.
Oh God, we don't need to get into that territory.
No, I'm just saying, I've never seen that movie, and that seems a little strange. But it is Jack Black that we're talking about.
I can't remember what movie it was, but it was Jack Black. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, those are our 2 topics for the night. I know usually we have 4, but we're reaching that 22-minute mark. We're going to take a quick little break, and the 2 of us are going to be back to jaw jack for you guys in just a little bit. We are coming back live on unknown territory, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the man they call Dave, and he is JT. Now, this is going to be our main topic of the night, I think. 2 questions. You can ask the same question back to me. And
Okay.
by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is totally off the cuff. Every once in a while, pardon me, frog in the throat. Every once in a while, we like to change things up a little bit, take a step further, and just throw things out that aren't in the news, that aren't pre-thought up, that aren't pre-recorded. But I just thought of something during that break to ask you. 2 things. 1, everybody's got fears, right?
Oh, absolutely.
What's your worst fear? That's my first question for you.
Oh my God, my worst fear. A fear or a phobia? There's a big difference. Like what?
A fear, not a phobia. A phobia for me is like spiders. I hate spiders. That's a phobia. Like, what's your worst fear?
Well, you're not alone in the spider thing, because if I see one, I tend to run around like I'm 5-year-old, and it's not good. Honestly,
same thing with me and the fiance. I've got to be the guy to do it, but it takes me 13 minutes, and then if it falls off the wall, I'm just not sleeping in that room.
Well, Jen, which is my wife, makes fun of me when she sees me running around with a vacuum cleaner trying to suck it up versus just grabbing a tissue and getting it, because I guess, yeah, I'll admit it. I had a pet snake. That never bothered me. It scared the crap out of her to even think about being in 50 feet of one, but a spider will scare the crap out of me.
I never understood the fear of snakes.
I don't either, but you know what I always get? When she said, well, they're so slimy. A snake
Snakes aren't slimy. Snails are slimy.
Worms that come out of the ground are freaking
slimy.
Right. But I guess the biggest fear, I'm going to have to assume that it's common with everybody, is death. Is the biggest thing. Because really, other than death, what are you really afraid of? Let's be honest.
That does make sense.
Are you afraid to fall down the stairs? No, it's just ruined
me,
your day.
Yeah, I'm a little skinny Irishman.
Well,
if I fell down my basement stairs, I'd probably break my neck.
I never fall downstairs. I typically fall up them. But honestly, if you really, really think about it, and this is something that I maybe dwell on too much, but it's literally the fear of death. I don't know if I'm actually afraid of dying.
Is it the fear of non-existence?
We've talked about this before.
We have.
It's been a little while since we've discussed this one topic. There's so many theories out there as to what's next. You can say there's nothing. There's a lot of people who say there's absolutely nothing. Other people say you go off and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fear of the unknown. I totally fear the unknown.
Well, that's a Lovecraftian aspect. Lovecraftian quote, actually. The greatest human emotion is fear, and the biggest fear is fear of the unknown. I believe Howard Philip Lovecraft coined that quote in the early 1920s. Which I think we can all understand that.
But then again, you can also, we're almost on the same topic. Another thing that I guess I fear, but it's kind of along the same lines in a sense, is obviously I'm married. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
What if she passes away prior to myself? I fear being the one left behind.
So those are like 2 separate fears.
But they're kind of intertwined in a sense. I'm afraid of what will happen to me when I pass away.
Mm-hmm.
But then I fear what happens if she passes and I'm left
by yourself.
By myself.
I kind of have that same fear because I'm 31 at the moment, and both of my parents are still alive, and I have a very small family. And when they go, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I live with my fiance, but not to kind of lighten the mood on a semi-existential moment, but it's like, I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I caught one.
Right.
That's kind of how I would feel, when my parents passed. I feel bad for all the listeners out there who have lost loved ones and all that. Trust me, I feel for you. I've lost a lot too.
But also, my opinion is this: is there's gonna be a lot of listeners that feel as though that they know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But my opinion is this: is nobody really knows. You have your faiths, you have your beliefs.
Some people do, though. People who have died for X amount of time on the surgical table came back.
Absolutely.
The differences in what they've experienced vary so wildly. It's insane. From fiery pits of hell to loved ones calling you saying it's not your time to nothing.
I've seen many interviews where we've all turned on the news and you just happen to see where somebody's giving a recollection of being on the surgical table, or they were saying a car accident and they were pronounced dead or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they firmly believe in what they saw. And I do believe that they believe what they saw, but I still have this in my gut belief that we just don't know. And there you go. I mean, in the nutshell, without getting deeper into the whole religious thing, which we don't, that's everybody's personal thing. I don't think we really know. There's my biggest fear, is just not knowing.
I guess that would be my biggest fear too. I was expecting you to ask me the same question, but I would have pretty much said the same answer.
I mean, if you think about it, in my job where I'm, going to and from other people's homes, can I say, oh, I'm really afraid to get bit by a dog? Well, of course, everybody's afraid to get bit by a dog.
That's a common fear.
I understand that, but I'm making the parallel. I mean, everybody doesn't want to get bit by a dog. It's going to frigging hurt.
Yeah.
It's going to really just mess up your life for a couple days. That's a fear, of course, but it's nothing like that's not a real fear. As in, I'm afraid of falling out of the sky.
Unless you're in the sky, you're not going to fall out of it.
Well, no, let's be honest. I mean, there's been certain circumstances where if you think about it.
Yeah. Okay.
In a nutshell, that's it.
Do you got a question for me?
No, because I think we both answered the same question without having me to...
No. I mean, like a brand new one.
Well, now you're kind of putting me on the spot. I mean...
You don't have to have one. I can just bring up something else.
Why don't you do that?
Okay. In the spirit, since it was St. Pat's yesterday, what is your favorite holiday and why?
I've actually mulled this over in my mind many, many times, and I will be honest with you and say that I love Thanksgiving above and beyond all the holidays that there are. My birthday.
Damn it, JT. That's my favorite holiday too, but go on.
My birthday, that's great. People will buy me something, they'll give me some scratch offs, I can get to drink some beer and watch a NASCAR race, blah, blah, blah. My favorite being Thanksgiving for one reason and one reason only. It's the one time out of the year you can actually just be around close family, not have to worry about what you bought them, what did they buy you, and you can actually just sit down, relax, and just be with family as you normally should be. And that's it.
You want to know what, ladies and gentlemen? I think this might be the JT show after this, because I can't argue with anything he's saying.
Well, let's be honest. Christmas...
You might as well be the new host.
Let's take Christmas, for example. It's wonderful. I love having the tree up. I love all the shiny lights and all that stuff. But you know what? People are stressing about...
It's March 18th. My Christmas tree is still up.
I stopped making fun of you after February. But I think Christmas has become too commercialized. It's not fun, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's just not fun.
Absolutely.
I think...
The spirit has been lost, and I truly believe that.
The spirit is all about how much you can spend at the mall. I can't tell you how many times that I've heard actually people say in the beginning of December, I can't wait until this is over. That's not what it should be about.
No.
And that's why a few years ago I said, you know what? I just love Thanksgiving. That's it. I mean,
what do you normally do on that? Most people, they go visit family. They either have ham or turkey, or on occasion, depending on your religion, fish. It's just about getting together, and that's what Christmas should be too.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, Jen's mother had asked me, well, what does Jay want for his birthday? And you know what my answer was? I just want a bunch of people over, my close friends. I just want to have some beers and relax and just BS and be myself. I don't want some big to-do.
Yep.
Because I just want to hang out and be with people.
I mean, I'll go over to my mother and father's house and have a couple of beers or maybe a glass of wine instead, and, just eat, talk, go home, conk out on tryptophan, which, yeah, I know they say it's a myth, but...
When you eat 10 pounds.
Yeah, when you eat 10 pounds, you're going to go to bed. And you wake up the next day and you feel great. It's like, I had a really good night last night.
And Thanksgiving is always fantastic for me because I know I'm going hunting in a couple of days.
I was talking about Thanksgiving, not Christmas.
I know.
Oh.
No, I'm saying why Thanksgiving is another reason why it's my favorite holiday. Is I know I'm going hunting a couple days later.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, JT is a pretty good hunter. Why don't you tell the listeners?
No, really, we're not going here.
Oh, okay, I'm going to have to go there.
Go ahead, and then I'll fill in the details.
No, they don't need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just a funny hunting story. It has nothing to do with anything bad. Don't worry about it. If he doesn't want me to tell it, I'm not going to tell it.
No, you can. We can go there. Obviously, at this point, we're going to have to.
He shot a deer in the butt.
Well, I was going to say that I shot a deer in the ass, but... Okay, so anybody that's listening that has ever hunted will probably say, okay, how in the world did you do that? Or why? And the answer is fairly simple. It was the first time I ever hunted. Now, I'm 42 years old. I started hunting 4 years ago. Really good friend of mine. He's been hunting his entire life. Decided to take me out. And I was like, all right, I want to give this a shot. We had walkie-talkies so we can communicate. At one point, he was approaching a field and saw a bunch of deer standing there. He, over the radio, tells me, come on, quick. So I come up on a deer. He says to me, shoot the one in the rear. Well, I only saw one, and I didn't realize he was talking about the doe. And I said to him, because I had just gone through the training course.
Doe, a deer, a female deer?
Correct. Okay, if you want to be that cliche. So he says to me, shoot the one in the rear.
Shoot the one in the deer. That's usually what you're supposed to do.
Well, I radio back to him. I said, I got to wait for her to turn first. He thinks that I can see all 3 deer. So he again repeats, shoot the one in the rear. Now, being my first day out there, I'm thinking to myself, well, he surely knows a hell of a lot more than I do. So I scoped the deer and shot it straight in the ass.
Did you kill it?
Yes. And of course, now years later, every time we go hunting, we could be out there. We can hunt, say, 8 days out of the year, 8 times out of the year, times 2, because I'll hear it in the afternoon as well. I hear about this story. I will never let it down, whatever the hell that word is.
Live it down.
Yes, that. So that is my very, very embarrassing hunting story.
Hey, you want to know what my embarrassing hunting story is, ladies and gentlemen? I own a pit bull Great Dane mix. Before that exact very season that JT was just describing to you, I left my hunting permit out in my living room. My dog shredded it. And one of our hunting buddies for that season, who I know personally, wanted me to dig through the trash for it, even though it was destroyed, and has doubted me ever since. I have not yet gone hunting in my life yet, besides being very young with my grandfather. That's kind of my embarrassing story. So I missed out on that entire hunting season.
Well, just to back up myself and give myself a little bit of credit, I've learned a heck of a lot more in the past 4 years, and I am safe to be in the woods with, and I do not harm animals that way.
No, JT's he is a professional. I would trust him in the woods, and I have trusted him around guns with my life on many occasions.
At this point, I'd like to say I'm seasoned and I know what I'm doing now.
Yes.
That first day, no idea what I was doing. You got to remember, I was never even in the woods with a gun before. So it was a kind of a scary thing. The first time you're out there is very intimidating.
Shoot the one in the rear.
And we'll just end it with that.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going into our last break, then we're going to have a little bit more to talk about, and then we will be seeing you next week. This is Unknown Territory with the man they call Dave and JT. And we are back on Unknown Territory for our last tiny little bit. And I think we got a couple of interesting questions left. Well, at least one. Actually, I'm going to save this for next time.
So now we're down to half a question?
No, just one question.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to pose a question to you, and I'll tell mine. How's that sound?
It works.
Because the next topic I want to get into in the next show is going to kind of get into a little bit more of the creepy and the paranormal, whereas our past two shows have been a little different. So, question I pose to you, JT, is what was the creepiest and or scariest thing paranormal that has ever happened to you in your life?
Oh, well, kind of funny is I have two.
Okay. We still have some time left on the roster here before we have to end the show, so go on.
Now, as far as paranormal, I'm not going to say it exists or does not. only because I have never experienced anything, in a sense, like a lot of people that you've heard tell their stories.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had it happen to me. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's impossible. However, you know the downstairs room in my house where you first walk in the door or off the garage.
Well, why don't you tell them how it is? Because I do. Kind of explain it to them, at least, for the listeners.
You pull into my driveway and you have my front door, which leads into a foyer, if you will. And there's a door that leads into my garage. To give you an idea.
Yeah, tell the story to the listeners, not me.
I'm doing so.
Don't try to find his house either, because he will shoot you on sight.
No, come on.
Come on, we're kidding.
We need listeners. I can't.
We're all joking
Can't
here.
knock them off.
Okay, you go downstairs into the foyer.
The point is then from that foyer, you walk up to some stairs that goes into my living room and my kitchen area. Now, there's been 3 different occasions where something is unexplainable has happened. One, I was by myself. The second time, it was my son. Him and I were sitting in the living room, just watching TV or playing on the Xbox, whatever. The third time was all 3 of us, all in the room together. And it was literally, we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden you just hear a bang. Like something hit the floor, something broke, I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
Went downstairs the first occasion when I was by myself. My heart's kind of pounding, so I'm thinking somebody just kicked in my door or something. I mean, that's literally how loud that noise was. I went downstairs. There's no door open. Nothing fell. Everything is as it should be. So I just dismissed it as like, okay, it just happened.
That's a common spiritual thing, if you believe in that. You know, a ghostly kind of thing.
Now, the second time, like I said, Chris and I were sitting on the couch, watching TV or playing video games. And all of a sudden, boom! Kind of kept doing what we were doing for like 10, 15 seconds. Finally, I turned to Chris and I said, "Did you hear that?" He goes, "I was just wondering the same thing." Again, went downstairs. Nothing's wrong. So then, say 6 months later, I'm with Jen and we're watching.
Now, you have a dog, right?
We have a dog, and not a flinch from him. Not a flinch from him. And he usually, if he hears anything...
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because usually animals are more sensitive to things like that.
And lately, he's been very in tune to every little sound. He's checking all the doors. He's going all over the house.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened. He just laid there in front of the fireplace like he normally does and never paid attention. And then the third time, all 3 of us, the same thing happens again. Now, the only common denominator is myself. I was present during all 3 times.
And it's unexplained, correct?
I cannot explain this for the life of me. And I'm typically a skeptic on certain things, such as this.
Yep.
I cannot sit here and give you any logical explanation or tell you what I thought it was. Absolutely not. Not at all.
Just random noises.
These were very profound noises, as if somebody kicked in your door. I mean, it was very loud. Now, I wouldn't say very loud. It was loud enough to make you really kind of like.
And if the dog didn't respond to that,
it was loud enough to make you kind of get that hair on the back of your neck standing up type of noise. So it wasn't just a, little.
And I've been into his house many, many, many times, ladies and gentlemen, and his house doesn't make noises like a door being kicked in.
Mm-mm.
I haven't experienced it there, but I do have one particular one in mind that I did experience when I was younger. Paranormal-wise. I was at my parents' house. I was still living with them. I was probably around 17, and I was playing video games with my old friend Justin. And outside of my bedroom, if you open up my bedroom door, there'd be a bathroom on the right and the laundry room. You've been at my parents' house.
Yeah.
The laundry room's on the left. You know where the back bathroom is. It literally sounded like all of the shelves fell down. And as soon as along those same lines, and I'm not making this shit up, but pardon my French, sorry. I'll bleep that out. As soon as I went in there, nothing. Everything's still the same way. Mom used to hang her pots and pans and stuff in there with all that. Just fell. Nothing. Now, this was when I was younger. That's kind of one thing that sticks to my memory.
Well, you just jogged my memory. You were standing in the garage when we were listening to music. Remember the nail flying across the room?
Oh, the nail.
You can't tell me you don't remember that one, because we just relived that and told that story to somebody else. What? 3 months ago?
That was a little while ago, yeah.
That was quite a while ago, but don't you physically remember, you and I both wondering what the heck?
There's kind of a background to that, but I would not want to get into that, but because I'm so close to JT and the rest of their family, I feel that shouldn't be discussed. But
that was
we were both standing in JT's garage, and he has a pretty good bunch of tools in there, and there was a nail in the wall. Would you care to discuss this?
You might be able to tell it better than me, because you physically saw it. I only heard the aftermath.
If you're standing in a garage with an electric garage door facing the back of the garage, and the door is on the right, so JT is on the right. I am facing the back. There was a nail that was embedded from previous owners of the house. We're talking a good 6-inch nail. Flew while we were just BSing, just talking as usual. Flew across behind Jay, hit the outside of his garage door, bounced off the door, and landed on the floor in between us.
You got to remember these. You have to envision the door is metal, and then you got the concrete floor. So there's a very distinct ting.
Yeah.
And
I cannot explain that.
And how long are you and I standing in the garage, and I literally had the nail in my fingers, and you and I saw the hole that it came out of.
Yep.
Call me crazy. It literally happened.
I saw that. I remember my eyes tracking.
I'm talking to listeners. Call us nuts. It literally happened.
Maybe our listeners would be interested in hearing our next show, which will be delving into the paranormal. This will not happen frequently, but every once in a while, this is unknown territory, and sometimes you gotta go a little bit beyond. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a good time to end this show. It's hitting about 50 minutes, a little bit less. You want to have any last closing marks, JT?
Oh, absolutely. I'm certainly excited about this first show here with you, and I'm excited too. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. Because there's going to be more topics and a lot more to be said.
I agree on that note. So, guys, this has been Unknown Territory, episode number 3. I'm the man they call Dave, and you are
JT.
And we will see you next week.
Yeah, I know.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thought I saw you jump the Utah train, but I could not say. Cannot say. Heard you tried to keep your hat on the shelf. Married a woman, went off and loved someone else. Could be as well. I cannot tell. All the money you take, all the memories you spill, will you marry? happy.